Well, Australia's agriculture sector has been thrown a lifeline today as they teeter on the edge of critical labour shortages. And given this is an issue that matters to all of us, not just people in country Australia, because our national economy is underpinned by so much of what we do on the land and, of course, terms of trade as well. Under measures announced by the Prime Minister Scott Morrison today, backpackers, Pacific Islanders and seasonal workers will all be able to extend their visas to stay longer in Australia. Meanwhile, welfare recipients will be offered incentives to join the harvest trail and pick fruit. Growcom Manager of Policy and Advocacy, Richard Shannon, joins me now from Brisbane. Thank you for coming on your show, Richard. Thank you for your time. New figures from Ernst & Young out today. This is figures in relation to Horticulture Innovation Australia. That's work that's been done for them. They reveal that the industry is predicted to be short 26,000 workers over the next 6 months. Now, I want to get your reaction, if I can, first to the PM's announcement about these visa changes and whether you think the changes will arrest the concerns of growers.
Thanks, Peter. Good to be with you. We've obviously welcomed the announcement only in the last couple of days from the federal government. There'll be these couple of different types of support offered to encourage more workers into our industry. It's a great start. However, we're obviously also asking the federal government to give further thought to what additional incentives can be offered because, as you say, we're going to be short 26,000 workers over the next few months. That's a huge hole to fill, and our feeling is that the incentives announced already are only going to go part way to filling that hole. So we look forward to further announcements along this.
Okay, well, what do you want to, just on that, Richard, what do you want to see? Because the budget's next week. If anything's going to happen for you, it'll happen on Tuesday night. What have you been pushing the government or seeking from the government?
I think, to start with, the ability for those on Jobseeker or youth allowance to earn $300 a fortnight without losing payment. My gut feeling is that's not going to be quite enough. I think we should start by raising that number significantly and then winding it back should we be inundated with people applying or people interested in working in our industry. It's much better, I think, to take a precautionary approach, to try a range of different options at this time, see what works and then dial things back. We don't have time to wait and see what happens with the incentives announced today in 2 or 3 months' time.
I guess, as a taxpayer and someone who likes small government, not big government, it sticks in my craw that we've got, 1.5 million people at the moment sitting at home on the double dole, picking up $1,100 a fortnight, and there are jobs in these areas going begging. We don't have work for the dole in Australia anymore, sadly, scrapped by Malcolm Turnbull. I hope Scott Morrison brings it back. Your point there about Jobseeker is well made and JobKeeper is well made, but again, that's taxpayer funds with incentives to get people to work. Surely in the middle of a recession, that's got to be top of mind for anybody, working, that is.
You would think so, absolutely. I suppose in the industry, and this is an important point to make, we don't want to get to a point where people are desperate and are now, because of that, looking for work. We want to encourage those people who are willing and interested to take up roles in our industry. If we get people who are only there simply because they have nothing else to support them, it's going to create new headaches in terms of huge turnover of people, people needing to be trained and inducted. I hate to think that we would be just reliant on people who have no other better option. I think offering some cash up front is a better way of going about it to get those people who really want to work in our industry as a starting point.
Well, we have no trouble getting people from overseas. Just the other day, I'm told 160-odd mango pickers from the Vanuatu areas came under the Pacific Labour Scheme. It looks like those in our neighbourhood don't have an issue with hard work.
No, absolutely, and we need to be looking at all of these options. We can't just simply be relying on overseas workers or Australians for that matter. I think we need to be exploring all options at the same time, simultaneously. Obviously, as you say, the Pacific Islands have a great history in terms of taking up work in our industry and being a really incredibly valuable source of labour. We'd like to see that pathway widened and for a greater number of Pacific Islanders to come into our country. I think the Prime Minister has also signalled an interest and a willingness for those from other countries outside of the Pacific with either low or no COVID caseloads, opening up those pathways as well. Alongside the Pacific, we also have a large number of workers from Asian countries, for example, also Europe. So looking at those pathways and avenues as well.
Well, Richard, Shannon, all the very best, all the best to your growers, because I remember the GFC, the only thing that kept us out of a recession that time round was the strength of agriculture. We absolutely need agriculture, you know, to be firing on all cylinders to get out of this current recession, and for that you need workers. But thank you for your time.
Thanks, Peter.